Welcome, fans, to a very special edition of what was going to be Riders Wrestling Review, but unfortunately, our broadcast colleague, the Big Bad Wolf, had an event come up that he couldn't miss. Take that for what you will. We will be doing dinner. We'll be doing the usual weekly Riders Wrestling Review news show this week in a time to be announced. But if you haven't been under a rock, you know that the big latest Saudi Arabia show from the WWE just wrapped up. Night of Champions from the Kingdom Arena in Riyadh, Saudi Arabia. There was no attendance that I heard noted, but it looked like a full building. Maurice, I'll talk about the first two matches before we get into where you came into the broadcast. But what's your opinion of these Saudi shows in general? They're controversial, and maybe you can speak on the CM Punk situation where he had to apologize for referring to anyone that would participate in a Saudi show as accepting filthy blood money. What are your thoughts on the whole thing in general, sir?
I think that he was probably made say that. I would imagine, but they're getting paid a boatload of money to do these shows. I don't think they deliver like a normal pay-per-view does. And I think especially from where I am in Ireland, okay, it's good for me. I can watch the show early. But for where people are in the States that are used to watching pay-per-views at 7, 8 p.m. at nighttime, it's not going to translate well there. And I think when they look back on it, they'll realize they didn't miss a whole lot, really. You know? Mm-hmm. It just doesn't have the same vibe. And I'm very worried about the Royal Rumble being there next year, if I'm totally honest with you, because I've never seen a Royal Rumble that wasn't at during the night where I am. You know, it's going to be 1 p.m. Eastern Royal Rumble next year in Saudi Arabia over 2 days. That doesn't do it for me.
No, I totally agree with you. The only upside for me being an old fart is had this show been on in the evening, I would have been dozing in my chair probably around the time that the Sami Zayn Karrion Kross match finished. But I'll rant about that in a second.
Yeah.
The show opened up with a good match between Orton and Cody. It was the King of the Ring final. The winner became the King of the Ring. And after about 20 or so minutes of action, strong action, I thought they obviously have chemistry. They have history, both pros, vets. Cody won with the crossroads after sending Orton into the exposed turnbuckle ribs first. Orton, of course, did the old deal where he pulled it off and was going to put Cody into it head first, but Cody blocked it. And, of course, Cody became the King of the Ring and earned the right to face the champion at SummerSlam, which we will discuss at the end. But in terms of matches and technical prowess, and nothing against Punk and Cena in the end, but I think that match was impacted by all the Zabada, and I texted you as we were watching this, what the F is going on here. It was a whole lot of stuff coming overbooked, in my opinion, but Orton versus Cody delivered. Do you think that Cody is going to be successful in defeating Cena in SummerSlam? We start the whole thing over again. Another reign for Cody.
I don't know, because there's a lot of questions, I suppose, after the main event, which we'll touch on later. But to be on your point, like to have Cody and Orton open up a show, if you were a promoter, you would say to yourself, safe as houses, put those two guys out there. They'll do everything for you. You know, so I understand why those two guys went out there. And I didn't see the match, as you know, I was in work at the time, but I will watch it back.
Yeah, it's well worth going out of your way to see, I think. One of the stories that we were going to talk about in Riders Wrestling Review this week was Cody Rhodes again exposing, I don't want to say exposing the business, because we've got that other show coming out where they're going to be talking about everything under the sun to do with the business. And I'm not sure that's a good thing, but he made a comment to the fact that, his babyface run is pretty much over, and he'll be looking to do other things. So I guess the plan will be to have Cody turn heel eventually. He's certainly telegraphing that. You think that will work?
Yeah, I think so. I think he'll need to be refreshed. He was a boring champion. Let's be honest. After the story finished, he needs something fresh. And yeah, I look forward to seeing that.
Mm-hmm. Next was a women's street fight match between Rhea Ripley and Raquel Rodriguez. I gotta confess, seeing the odd Rhea Ripley match, Raquel not so much. I will say this in my notes. Rhea won with riptide off the top rope where there was a table propped up, and I thought it was a very strong performance. I was actually impressed by Rodriguez. A lot of weapon shots. Pretty much a classic street fight. They of course in Saudi have to wear those full cover up outfits. Are you familiar with Raquel Rodriguez by any chance?
Not massively, but I wanted to make a point on that match. Do you think that because of, without getting too political, kind of the way that women are viewed in Saudi Arabia, that these two women were trusted to put on a street fight to show that they can be just as good as the men? And do you think did they deliver that? You seen the match? I didn't, but that was my thinking of why those women had that kind of, street fights are normally associated with men. I can't remember too many women's street fights throughout the years, so I thought this was an interesting place to do one. That's just my thoughts on it. Could be true, it may not be true at all.
No, I think you're bang on. It was, and I'll make it clear, I'm not a fan of overexposing women's wrestling, and I know they're having that full women's pay-per-view coming up. I thought they did a good job. The only thing is when you have those type of hardcore matches dating back to the old ECW days, you would expect that somebody would end up bleeding, and that obviously didn't occur. But I thought it was fine. It certainly was better than the next women's match that we'll talk about. That was a stinkeroo in my opinion. But I got to give them credit. They both worked hard, and having not seen Raquel Rodriguez before, pretty solid effort. So good things to come from her. She's apparently half of the women's tag team champions. Not sure what version of that, but pretty good match all in all. Definitely a decent showing. So next we have Sami Zayn versus Karrion Kross with Scarlett. Before we get into this, can you explain Sami Zayn to me? I don't get it.
And he is Canadian, yeah?
Yeah, he's from Montreal.
Okay. I think he's okay. He's a little bit like Jey Uso, where he's got the nice entrance and he's got the crowd behind him and all that kind of stuff. But I think Sami Zayn is a good wrestler. I think he's a better wrestler than Jey Uso. In terms of the rest of the stuff, the colors he was wearing, the headscarf, political stuff, I don't like mixing it with wrestling. It's the same Glastonbury was on today. There's all sorts of stuff going on over there with flags and mixed messages and whatever. But if you're going to a wrestling show, I want to enjoy wrestling. If I'm going to a music concert, I want to enjoy music. That's just my opinion on it. But in terms of Sami Zayn, I know you don't really like him. But when you put him with Karrion Kross there, only one of them looks like a heavyweight champion of the world. So I understand where you're coming from. But he was always going to go over because of all those other reasons I talked about at the start.
Yeah, I'm just confused because Killer Kross is now an internet darling, and he made a lot of people take notice with that promo post WrestleMania. People were touting this guy. He's got all the tools. He looks like a Ibzan is on. Hey man, how are you? Hope you're doing well. He's got all the tools in terms of size, skill, look. I just don't understand what is holding him back in WWE. They need to put the man, in my opinion, on a winning streak, but certainly not losing to Sami Zayn. To me, it's just not believable. Sami Zayn looks like a guy that should be bagging groceries, and there's no disrespect to that or anything else, but Killer Cross looks like a wrestler. He obviously is a guy that can take care of business. Very powerful. I thought some of the stuff in that match was laughable when Cross had to sell for Zayn, but there's something to do with him that he's not a favorite in the company or something. But they're leaving a lot of money on the table with this guy, and I mean with his manager Scarlett, his gimmick, et cetera. I just can't figure out why he's not getting a push. But who knows? He may be. Sorry.
Those clotheslines in the corner were pretty tough, and then for him to come at the end then and just a burst of energy out of nowhere and the Luba kick, and that was it.
Yeah.
That didn't make sense. That didn't make sense to me because he was squashing him in the corner, weakening him down even further. Where did that come from then? They could have come up with a better ending to that match.
Mm-hmm. Well, traditionally, if you're going to have an underdog, babyface, undersized underdog, whatever you want to call it, if you're going to have them go over, win with a roll up or something, or
a quick roll up.
Yep, Cross is getting too cocky, and Sammy grabs the tights and pulls anything. But not a fan of Sami Zayn. I don't see the money in him, but what do I know? Same with Kevin Owens. Don't like him either, and he's Canadian as well. So what do you do?
I do like Kevin Owens more. I think he's better on the mic, and he's got more to him. But yes, he probably doesn't look like a wrestler in another way that you're talking about.
Yeah, and I mean, I've talked about this a lot with various people, and it's just I've got a mindset from the 80s and 90s where wrestlers look like wrestlers and not, driving Ubers or, bagging groceries. And again, nothing that there's anything wrong with that.
Like, I know a lot of wrestlers over here now, and they're not big guys, but they're in good shape, so you can appreciate that as well.
Well, and that's if you look at the
if you look at Finn Balor or someone like him, Finn's kind of a small guy, but he looks great all the time. Be the example of what a smaller guy should look like.
Yeah, and very very credible because of the fact that he looks like a guy that's in shape. And again, nothing really against Sammy or Kevin Owens because they have their own different sort of issues, but Sammy is too small, doesn't look like he trains, and Kevin Owens is kind of the opposite, a guy that's very doughy and doesn't put. You would think when you're a superstar making the money that those two make that they would have personal trainers and dietitians. But before we move on, you provided a good segue here. Let's talk about this. Let's talk about the next show coming up in the very successful 2025 that your company has had in terms of putting on shows. The latest, of course, going to be Sellout Sunday, October 19th at Castle Comer Community Hall. Why don't you talk about that for a minute and give spark the fans up as to where they can get the tickets?
Yeah, so the man in the middle of the poster there is from Kilkenny. He's from our area, and he's had two fantastic showings in the opening two shows. So we're going to reward him with a NLW World Title match on the next time, October 19th, at Castle Comer Hall. Who that champion will be, I don't know. I'm actually going to County Kildare tomorrow to watch the same company, No Limit Wrestling, put on a 20-man Royal Rumble tomorrow. So we'll have kind of an idea who the champion's going to face in September. And then we'll know at the end of September who Luke's opponent will be in Castle Comer. So you can get them online, Eventbrite, search No Limit Wrestling. And you can get them from the grocery store that I work in, but Sami Zayn doesn't, Landis Castle Comer.
I think you could take Sami Zayn pretty easily. Yeah, we're we're going to talk a lot about this in the weeks and months to come, because Ireland is such a hot I guess territory for independent wrestling. It's really great to see that companies like No Limit provide family friendly pro wrestling entertainment at a reasonable price too.
Yeah, €15. Like it's a family show, but it's not overly gimmicky or silly. Like the wrestlers are wrestling all over Europe. We had a girl there in the last show, and she's 18. She's a world champion in France. She travels all over Europe. The guys are serious. The guys are working maybe Friday, Saturday, Sunday every week. And with the best thing about Europe is you could fly to maybe France or Belgium or Germany in a couple of hours, from Ireland. So they're very serious people, and you'll see some of those people on the TV screens, I'm sure, in the future.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Well, exciting stuff happening in Ireland, and that's great to see, because fans need to support independent wrestling. Next match was Solo Sikoa versus Jacob Fatu for the U.S. Championship. That featured a plethora of returns, interference.
Just when you think they can't add any more Samoans to the mix, they do.
Yeah, it featured the return of Tonga Loa, Tama Tonga, and we had Jeff Cobb. I can't remember his ridiculous WWE name, but what did you think about all that schmoz?
I think there's too much of it. I think all these guys should be in a massive faction, and not just bringing more people in. Is he going to be with this guy? Is he going to be with that guy? It's too confusing for me, even because I don't watch WWE all the time now. And I was figuring out, well, who is this guy? Is he coming for Solo, or who is he coming from? And I was just like, if I was tuning into that, as I kind of was today, as someone who hadn't watched it in a while, I wouldn't know what the hell is going on.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm kind of there with you. I don't know what they're doing with Jeff Cobb, but he definitely. Aside from putting Jeff Cobb in NXT, it's good that he started on the main roster, but that man is capable. Yeah, he's capable of a lot more. Solo Sikoa won the U.S. title with the Samoan Spike, with a lot of Zabada again in that one. Next was the Queen of the Ring final between Asuka and Jane Cargill. What do you want to say about that, Maurice?
Well, what I said to you was somebody took Mordecai's gear, Jade Cargill. Yeah.
The white and gold.
Yes, the crowd was flat for that. Asuka is normally better than that. Maybe it's a thing where Jade, that age-old problem of why she wasn't on TV for a long time and getting many opportunities. Maybe we've seen why tonight. And the promo afterwards wasn't good either. I don't know what that was about.
No, she's one of those cases of a person that looks like $1 million, and then the bell rings. Yeah.
Mm. But she looks great.
That's partially AEW's fault, because she was there for 3 years, and they just had her squash everybody. It didn't seem like she was given many opportunities to learn. I can't remember an actual competitive match that she had in AEW, but I guess she's going to get a huge push. I just hope she gets better, because that was one clunky affair. And you're right, Asuka is a veteran now and quite skilled, so you would think she'd be able to carry her to, I don't know, at least a passable match. But
speaking of AEW, is a good friend of mine. That's massive. He's always been a massive AEW fan, but I bumped into him today, and he said to me, "Oh God, this it's like therapy every week now. When we turn it on, he just goes, it's just painful." So that's my latest update in AEW. I don't watch it, but this guy was really, really behind it, and now he's losing momentum fast.
Yeah, they switched to smaller venues, but some of them look like a bomb scare still. I got to confess, I haven't been able to watch that in a very long time. Yes, Mike, Jim Powers is definitely on the list to interview. It may take a while, but as we saw with Pat Tanaka, got him out of his shell and had a couple of good interviews with him. One here on this channel with Marty Jannetty that was controversial for different reasons, but yeah, I definitely have Jim Powers on the list for sure. Speaking of Jim Powers indirectly, have you heard from the man who formerly had a long running and successful show on this channel, Mr. Mario Mancini? Have you heard from Mario in a while? It was his birthday.
I haven't. Yeah, I wished him a happy birthday. I haven't talked to him actually in quite a while, but they seem to be still putting on shows. And I see one of their guys from the training school, Richard Holiday, is putting on his own show with a host of big independent names. So we'll see how that goes. But yeah, we'll get Mario back on at some point.
Yeah, we'll have to have him on maybe for an end of the year special or something like that, like the past couple of years. Okay, now the moment that everyone was waiting for, the big main event, CM Punk versus John Cena for the title. Yeah, I agree with your comment that you
like the opening match. These two guys closed the match safe as houses.
Yes.
But there was too much shit going on in between it all.
Yeah, I was quite into the matches. They had false finishes, they had back and forth, and et cetera, and then it seemed like there was a steady stream of interference. Heyman and Rollins and Breaker and the big guy came out.
Like when Brock was with Paul Heyman, they didn't need all these other people. I think Seth is stronger. That would have been a stronger moment if he had come out on his own with Paul Heyman. And then we seen the mess with Sami Zayn and Penta and everyone else coming out. I just thought it took away from what was a pretty good match.
I agree. 5,000.
It only needed Seth Rollins. You can have Paul Heyman there, that's fine, but Seth was the only one that was needed in that situation. Yes. And now what are they going to do? Rerun Seth and Punk again? Why? There's nothing on the line.
Yeah, I guess they just can't get enough of that. I figured their last match was going to be the end of it. But do you understand why? I understand why the heels came out, too many heels, but then we had this steady stream of Sami Zayn, like you said, Penta dove off the top. I was just going, what is going on? What are they trying to? Are they trying to program these guys in some kind of a deal or what? I thought that the match was very much impacted in a negative way by all that outside interference.
Yeah, if the match was steady and the table spot outside was awful as well.
Mm-hmm.
They couldn't lift them up. They couldn't lift CM Punk up. He's a light guy. If you look back at that table spot, it's terrible.
Yeah,
But Punk looks like he's in much better shape than he has been. I think he's looking the best since he's been back, but that's probably due to the fact that he was injured and now he's getting a bit of a longer run and hopefully stays injury-free.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. I don't think anybody was thinking that CM Punk was going to win, but it would have been a lot better of a match in general if there wasn't all that zabada. I guess Cena won ultimately after Rollins hit Punk in the head with the briefcase. 1, 2, 3.
Yeah, and if that had just happened without all that outside stuff, then it would have been fine.
Yeah,
it didn't need everything else.
Yeah, everything but the kitchen sink in that one too. But overall, aside from the Queen of the Ring final, there really weren't any duds, I would say, per se. What would your final? We don't do stars here like the Great Wrestling Observer, but what would you give that in a numeric grade, given the fact, like you said at the start, that these are Saudi shows? They're not the same sort of level as the premium live events elsewhere.
Well, missed the first 2 matches, but I would probably say maybe a 4 to 5. Nothing more than that for me, anyway.
Out of 10.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would give it about a 6 myself because I thought there were some surprisingly good moments, such as that street fight was interesting. Orton versus Cody was good, and
Yeah, see,
yeah, go ahead, watch those and tell me what you think afterwards. And CM Punk versus Cena again was pretty solid, but the rest of it again. Sami Zayn going over Karrion Kross, don't understand it. I'm going to watch that very carefully because I have a fear he might be on his way out of the company. And then where does he go, right? Like A&E or AEW?
A&E is probably a better place for him.
Yeah, maybe MLW or TNA. I say that a lot, A&E, but that shows you how much I pay attention to AEW too. Yeah, I think it was good. I'll close with this. I think it was good that it was in the afternoon over here because I definitely would have fallen asleep at some point. But that's not a barometer of much at my age. Anyway, Maurice, we're going to come back this week when Mr. Ryder has his schedule intact, and we'll go through all the news. I'll be interested to see if he watches this pay-per-view between now and then, get his insights that are very well appreciated. A program note for today, Portland legend, the one and only Pretty Boy Doug Masters is going to be doing a live interview in about an hour and a half, 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Tomorrow we've got another episode of Ringside Riffs, the steroids in wrestling show that Kingpin and I have been trying to get done for about a month. And then at 5 p.m. Eastern live, a legendary worker who's, again, of the territories. He made his mark, I guess you would say, for the most part in Georgia, but definitely did other territories, Japan as well. And that would be Mr. Jerry Oates. So make sure you continue to subscribe to the channel. If you haven't subscribed, hit the like button, hit the notification button, and you won't miss any of this content. Things are really cooking here, and I hope things are warm. How's the weather over there? Is it?
It's warm, but it's not sunny.
Okay.
It's like it's still warm now. Like you can see it's 25 to 10 now at the moment. It's still brighter.
Wow. Well, I guess it beats the alternative here. We've had some very sunny and hot days, so everyone in Ontario, Canada is staying hydrated. But that's it for this special Not Riders Wrestling Review edition where we looked at the Night of Legends. Maurice, thanks for coming on. I know you got your dinner waiting, and we will see everyone shortly.
I've got a message from Mr. Ryder here.
What's he saying?
Karrion wasn't going over in that country. You said that already. This is at 9:35. Oh, he's 1 minute ago. I've got 20 minutes if you guys want to blow through a quick one.
Too late.
Well, we've just done that.
We've just done that. Tell them we'll review the show on the next Riders Wrestling Review this week and hit the news.
I'm going to have to read that out again. I've got like 20 minutes if you guys want to blow through a quick one.
Oh, that could be interpreted many ways, could it? It's nefarious. Anyway, fans, we'll see you next time. Thank you for watching this video. Please give it a like if you enjoyed it. Be sure to follow us on all social media platforms at